final update here. A good friend of the show, Brian Stelter. Let it never be said that you can't, if you are in the quote in club, you will never be out of a job. And Brian Stelter, he got fired at CNN only a week or so later. Let's put this up there on the screen. A major career announcement for Mr. Stelter. He's heading to Harvard as his home base while he figures out his next gig. How nice of Harvard to do this. So let me read you guys. This is from the Walter Shorenstein Media and Democracy Center, where he will be a recognized fellow. The Media Center brings high-profile figures at the forefront of media and politics to Harvard's Kennedy School to work with students, faculty, and public on important issues of the moment. Stelter will convene a series of discussions about threats to democracy, the range of potential responses from the news media. I'm sure he has a lot to teach these students, certainly, doesn't he? It says Stelter is a nationally recognized media reporter and expert on the state of journalism, its wide-ranging implications for society and governance. Until August, he was the anchor of reliable sources. I like how they put that. So he is heading to Harvard University. God bless those students. I feel kind of bad for them. This is exactly what they get. Harvard has long been a sinecure of some of the worst people in media. It's one of the places that hired, remember the Institute of Politics hired like Sean Spicer after he was fired by—
Did they really?
Yeah, they hired Sean Spicer. It's like they have this thing for hiring like failed Washington operatives or, you know, people like Stelter and be like, they have a lot to teach our students. I was like, yeah, I guess they certainly do. Like, how to get fired from your job at CNN and be a low-rated television host. What a dramatic success.
I mean, the thing with Stelter, this guy was just like a CNN corporate show.
Yes,
I mean,
it's the opposite of journalism.
He justified their worst journalistic failures when it came to the whole Cuomo situation, which caused their, highest level executive, Jeff Zucker, to ultimately lose his job. So for him to be rescued after he so clearly was engaged in this like cover up as well, and just happy to toe whatever the CNN corporate line is, as you're supposed to be a media critic and like an honest broker, even when it comes to your own outlet. Get out of here.
It is a total— It's funny, I'm actually giving a talk later today at Georgetown to some journalism students, and it's like, one of the things I always emphasize, because I talk to them like every semester, is, and I don't really even talk about what we do here, it's much more about like how to, start out in the business and all that, is I always tell them like, don't act like these people. I'm like, these, the CNN and all this, I mean, these days are dead. I'm like, what you guys need to do is hustle. You need to actually be good at what you do. You need to make sure that you know how to do Twitter and, listen to podcasts, YouTube, stay in contact with people who are your age. Don't just, take on the hues of whatever the milieu of DC and all that teaches you, because you won't get anywhere. It's like, if you really want to get somewhere, you got to be somebody who's an independent thinker, chase things that are really important. And I just can't imagine, being a student, especially one of these elite institutions, and hearing and thinking that this is the way that you should conduct yourself in the business, going forward.
What Brian Stelter has to teach is that if you get in good, if you're good at playing the inside game of getting in good with the boss and being useful to him when necessary, which is what Brian Stelter's primary purpose there was, and clearly the minute that boss was out, he was gone, because that was the whole reason that he was there. If you're good at that, doesn't really matter if you're talented, doesn't really matter if you have good ratings, doesn't really matter if you're like blatantly wrong about stuff. You will continue to rise so long as you are useful to the people who are at the top. Now, the other thing he can teach is that the minute that you're not useful to the people at the top, then you got big problems. But, he landed fine on his feet here at Harvard. He'll find another gig. He'll find someone else that he can be useful to here in DC.
Right. He's going to be in Harvard. He's going to come work for some fake media corporation, which has got $100 million in fake funding. And, if he flames out, nobody cares. As long as you're on the right team, you will be protected for eternity. It's a shocking element. We did an entire thing yesterday on 9/11. I was talking about how the Iraq War criminals are still all rich, fat and happy, walking around town. Same thing. You could be one of these people, they don't actually have to make it out here like us, the actual quote unquote market. They've got plenty of rich patrons who will always float them throughout their fake careers. So it's pathetic. You can be so bad at your job that you even get fired from CNN and you could still end up at Harvard University.
Live on your feet at Harvard.
It's an inspirational story in a way. It really is.
There you go. Cable news is ripping us apart, dividing the country, making it impossible to function as a society, and making it impossible to know just what is true and what is false. But the good news is they are failing and they know it.
That is why we're building something new, a new mainstream, a healthier one, something more trustworthy, something that we are going to need in one of the most pivotal times in American history. We are building up here for the midterms, for the upcoming presidential election, but we need your help. So if you can help us out by becoming a premium member today at breakingpoints.com, we're trying to change America for the better and the entire world.
So what are you waiting for, guys? Go to breakingpoints.com and sign up and help us build a new mainstream.